quiet.
Welcome to the Bear Facts on Guns, where host Derek Baer and his guests are locked and loaded to educate, inspire, and answer your questions about firearms. Today, coming to America. Ready? Aim. Derek.
Welcome back, everyone. We took a hiatus for a week here and played a little bit of rerun yesterday. We decided to take a camping trip over the weekend. I want to welcome in business partner, Artchenko.
Art. What's happening?
Hello.
Yeah.
I say your last name like I'm sneezing.
It was fun. We
Just don't say it.
Why? It's so much fun to mess with it.
Art is a hard one.
Art?
Yeah. Art.
No, his last name.
Chenko.
No, if you say T, Tkachenko.
Yeah, exactly. So
Tchenko.
Yeah, it's like sneezing.
Tchenko.
Good.
Tchenkov. Oh, Tchenko.
Yeah, the interesting thing, Bear Facts on Guns, and we go out to the woods and spend a little time up in the northern part of Wisconsin, and then you bring up the moniker Bear Ass in the Woods. I don't.
Yeah.
What?
Well, my question I got all week long was a bear shit in the woods?
No.
You know.
Well, it was. I guess that little toilet was tucked back in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. Well, you guys didn't find the other surprises that I left out there too.
They'll trip into.
You know, everyone was wondering what that smell was coming from. It wasn't from us. It was from my poop in the woods.
And it was following you.
It was following me. Exactly.
That's right. Oh,
I came to work on Tuesday, and Art goes, "What smell?"
So we just so people know, we head up there for a little fish and chip, little man camp, we call it, right? No women, no children. We don't even get cell reception up there, so we couldn't even listen to the reruns or
like half a bar.
And you know, the interesting thing is, as we're just sitting up there unplugged and just getting away, you know, Derek says, "Hey, I grew up in, upstate New York. I'm a country guy." He brings an entire arsenal into his tent because he's like, "I'm not letting a bear come in here."
Yeah. And the funny thing is I think it made the campsite a little bit more easy, though, right? Because everyone was like, "Well, if there's something that shows up, well, Bear's got an arsenal in his tent. He's just going to take care of it." And it was ready to go, so that was the important part.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to use it up there, which is totally fine. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely doing a little bit lighter on there as well. Hi, Kiki. How are you?
And we did.
On there.
You know, the interesting thing is we did so much hiking. You got cankles. Your ankles were sore. I mean,
yeah. Kiki,
from chair to chair.
Yeah. It's so much big.
4 feet, 40 feet from 100 yards.
Well, I drank a lot of water, Kent. So
of course,
we
were all well hydrated.
Holy water. I mean, you can call it holy water.
Yeah, we were all well hydrated.
Yeah, we were well hydrated on there as well. So yeah, my wife definitely right away said, how's the Kankos doing? Derek, Mac comes on and says, "Derek hiking, haha, maybe you're rolling down the hill." It's a graceful roll. Some can call it walking or not. One of the two on there as well. So yeah, it was an awesome trip. Definitely a disconnection from just unplugging in the most amazing sense possible. Brought my kayak up there that's still mounted to Kent's van. Right now I have to remove that off.
After the show.
So Kent's been driving around town saying that he's been kayaking all weekend.
Everybody's looking at me like, "Hey man, that guy, he's pretty active."
Oh, Kent, nice kayak. What'd you get? Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's great kayak. Yeah. And the funny thing is,
just got off the water, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, my biceps are bulging right now. Oh man, too funny.
Absolutely.
So welcome to the show, Art, dude. Always, I've been trying to get him on for quite some time. Art's got an interesting story. Obviously, I work with him every single day, but why don't you tell people where you're from and
the great country of Ukraine.
Great. And when did you come
It's
to
never
America?
been great. 16 years ago.
16 years. Wow.
Yeah.
So how old were you?
19.
What's your social security number? Oh wait, I already
Yeah,
got
no,
that.
I'll give it. Yeah.
Give it
Right.
to them. Let's test that light flock real quick. So talk about, for the people that don't know Ukraine and don't know the atmosphere that is Ukraine and what the government structure is out there. What's going on when you were growing up in Ukraine?
So when I was born, it was still Soviet Union for 6 more years, and I don't remember much of it, but I remember collapse of that
Okay.
country and the consequences that followed for probably 15, 20 years, and it's never got better there.
So was the
It- it-
collapse
it-
one day thing, or was the
No,
collapse
of course not. It
Okay.
was slowly like going to that point
Mhm.
until it just happened, and the economy collapsed, everything collapsed. So everybody were basically getting the link card over here.
Yeah.
Whatever you get from the government, that's all you can get.
Ooh.
Holy cow!
And that was for few, I don't remember, 5, 10 years. And
Did you work were you old enough to work at the time or no?
my first job was when I was 15, probably. That was a fun job, but after that I was working at the real jobs, probably starting 16 years old.
Okay.
And when I was 19, I decided that I don't want to be in that place,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a chance to come to United States with $200 in my pocket
Nice.
Right.
and no language,
Yep.
and I didn't know anybody here.
Did you fix the language yet? Because I haven't told you.
I don't think it will ever get fixed.
One of my favorite.
I'm okay with that.
One of my favorite things about art whenever we have a conversation, and I've been in America my whole life. I was born here. My
Mhm.
family was born here. My family.
And you
family,
still have
family.
an accent.
So the funny thing is there's certain words that come up that in a normal conversation, and I'll explain something to art, or I'm explaining American way of something that's being done, or why we do something the way we do. And my favorite word that came up, this is like a year ago, and I still laugh about it. So I was like, oh, we want to do that. We want to file a patent for it. And he's like, okay, patent.
I'm not doing it here today.
You gotta do it. Come on, you gotta say it.
Nope.
Oh man.
All right.
So that's the best part about
So
it.
you come to America, you come the correct way, you become an American citizen, right? Congratulations on that too, by the way.
Thank you.
I think you never know. And now you're a proud gun owner. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Since 2015, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. So your country, where it was kind of war torn and kind of nasty, right? Did you grow up with firearms or no?
I never had a firearm in my family, like in my house. My dad had, I don't even know, it's like a BB gun.
Yeah.
That's all he had.
Like an airsoft or something?
The government would not let you own a gun over there.
Really?
Or unless you were like a police,
Yeah.
you would have a permit.
Part of your job,
Yeah.
or yeah.
Or you were the oligarch. That's what they call it.
Mm.
The very rich people. I mean, they have all the rights and they have
Still
all
do.
the judges in their pockets.
Just like here in Chicago. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry, that
Yeah.
slipped.
Windy City.
All right, so when you got here, were you scared of firearms? Were you excited to get one? What was?
No, I
what was
always
the
wanted to own one. I mean, the legal way, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
And it took me a couple of years to get it, like to figure out how to get it, I guess. And I got one of them, and then the second one.
So I mean, for those who are tuning in, of course, all of our hundreds of thousands of listeners, we appreciate you. This guy is 6'7",
He's tiny.
and
It's only 300 pounds.
and only 300, and his
Wow.
shoulders are about as wide as a 50-inch TV, right? So this is not a small guy. So he's not like a 5-footer, with gold teeth or anything like that, right? I mean, this is a guy who literally, if you try to break into his house and you ran into him, you'd be like, wrong house. Sorry. It was supposed to be
I'll go
next
and
door.
get your neighbor's house. I meant to go to your neighbor's
I mean,
house.
because but you still wanted to have a firearm, or many. I don't know.
I guess the main reason, because the way and where I grew up,
Mhm.
I would never trust the government or even police at some point.
Sure.
And we all see what's going on right now. I mean, where it's heading, nobody knows. I mean, I do want to get more ammo and guns just in case.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty.
I think that there's a valid point in here
Yeah.
that I want to make sure we're clear on, because what he's talking about and what we need to look at and what we need to understand is we're talking to a guy that literally came from a communist country, right?
Yeah.
From a country that was controlled by the government. And Max says you can just come to his house. I mean, you can come to my house too, obviously.
Is that an invite to me, Mac, or
I
what?
know, it's a little weird.
Oh yeah.
And Shane, I'm going to jump on your question in just a second here. I just saw that come through, but you got to realize the fact that Art sees things differently because he's seen both sides of the coin, right? So he's seen communists, he's seen the fall of communism, he's seen the corruptness that's come into there. He's also moved to America when America was not in this.
Well, I thought he saw that all here in America.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that was Southside.
Yeah. Oops.
That was in Mount Vernon or whatever it was in Illinois. That's the worst place. And I don't know. It's like you're gonna get robbed 1 in 6 times that we did the last show. So it's a relevance to understand that the fact that when he talks about his views and what's going on, he sees something different than what we actually see as Americans, because we take for granted that, hey, the government's not going to do this. The government's not going to say this. The government's not going to mandate things. They're not going to make things happen or make us do stuff. But yet we're in a place right now where they're not mandating, but they're taking away things because we're not doing something else that they want to do. So they're not technically, and I'm using air quotes right now, mandating things in some way, shape, or form. But they're removing privileges because of that mandate. And we just saw a couple weeks ago that Biden, our current administration, Biden with a quote, sorry, Ken, I tried really hard not to say it, but it's okay.
I just don't want you to rile him up.
I know, that's true. Yeah. Art's got very strong views on some things, but he also sees it. Again, he sees it differently, so I appreciate it. I understand it. But we just removed a country from our arms and getting ammunition. And I'm curious to see what's going to end up happening from that as well. Do you want to go up to Shayna's real quick? Because I want to get to her question real quick. Shayna asks, hi, Art, did your parents have options on guns, opinions on guns, ownership specifically? Sorry.
I mean, my parents are here, and they live in Des Plaines, and
his dad's so cool. His mom doesn't talk very much.
Because they never had one and never had an option to have one. I mean, I never heard anything from them.
Yeah.
Like, we never talked about it. And when I got it here, I would say they had no opinion, maybe because of my age already at that point.
Sure. You can't, Shayna says, you can't take when people willingly surrender their freedoms.
That's right. You can't take them when they're willingly surrender.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Mac put a comment in there too. So when he, you're gonna go on that one or no? Sorry. When I moved to the U.S., I was super young, but my parents told me horror stories of how they grew up. Big ups to Art and his stories. So I agree to that 100%. It's a weird thing. Obviously, our current administration right now really has a pull on guns. They have an out for them. We talked about that last show. I kind of jumped into some very heavy facts around the fact that, of the 29,000 people that died last year by guns, 60% of that was suicide. So the numbers kept dropping further and further down with that as well. When it comes to actual gun violence. And then we talked about mass shooting, and mass shooting is defined as 4 people or more. Not even killed, it's just 4 people injured or shot at. So that's defined a mass shooting. So there's just a lot of questions in there that kind of pop up as well on there also. So, and then Benjamin pulls a question. Why do you need an AR-15, you psychopath? Ben was in my office today, and he saw my mat in my office, and I had my AR-15. And he's like, why do you need an AR-15? I was like, because it's cool. He's like, they're a little, scary looking. I said, well, yeah, they're scary looking. And Kent thought the same thing, and he shot one, and it was great. He had a great time with it.
It's heavy. It's too heavy. Give me the 12 gauge.
Yeah, he had a blast with a 12 gauge. He blew holes in the side of it as well. So,
well, and that brings up a question, right? Is and here's the interesting thing with America right now is I don't care. I don't own guns, right? I can't say I never will, but who knows, right? Right now, I don't see that it's necessary in my life. But I really don't care what kind of firearm you have.
Sure.
And I grew up around them, right? In Iowa, everybody, I mean, when I was in high school, they're hanging in the back of the pickup trucks. But I wouldn't look at you and go, hey, Art, I see that you do, you're an electrician, HVAC guy, you own a company. By the way, what kind of fire? That's just not a question I necessarily would ask, right? And if you've ever spent time down in Texas, it's open, right? It's not concealed carry, it's open carry. Tennessee's the same way. And it doesn't scare me, or I don't get alarmed by seeing somebody with a gun. But it's none of my business. What if you have gun or you have a barn full of ammunition? I guess the only time it becomes my business is if that, rocket launcher ends up pointed at my house. That's all.
Yep.
Right. So why is it such a big deal if you do, and what kind you have? Why are people so up in arms about that?
Yeah. Do you want to answer that?
I mean, I never talk about it unless somebody asks me.
Sure.
If I own the gun, I would never go and tell Kent, hey, I got this and that and that.
Let me show you.
It's just my business. Whatever I want, whatever I prefer to own.
It's one of those things. So when it comes down to having a conversation around guns in general, I just think about cars in general. So what does it matter what type of car you drive?
Right.
A Ferrari can go 200 miles an hour. Lamborghini can go 200 miles. How my Tesla outside can go 165 miles an hour. I mean, does it need to go that fast? No, but it's my choice to go that fast if I want to. And same with firearms. So 12 gauge shotgun, AR-15, M16, whatever you're looking at, there should be no stipulation on that, because the damage that we showed on our show with the 12 gauge shotgun with three rounds in it at buckshot, double buck, 6 bullets each is the same number as 40. It's still 40 shots. It's still 40 bullets.
Yeah. I want people, and Shana says, other than personal preference, the possibility of a gun pointed against you being one is important. A gun owner, I guess. Is, right? Mm-hmm. And let me help people. I'm in banking.
Yep.
There's been a hostile takeover. I've had a gun pointed at me at point blank.
Yep.
I still don't own a gun.
Yep.
Right. And the situation was, I could see his eyes and the whole of the gun. And he could see me, and we both knew we were both scared.
Sure.
Right? Very, very fortunate that the trigger didn't get pulled.
Sure.
Right? But there was a moment, all I saw were his eyes and the whole of the gun.
Yep.
And they were all about the same size.
Yep.
There was a huge, huge hand rock. I mean, that thing was a hand cannon. Right? To me. And so, and I still don't, and that's, not everybody has been in that position, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. However, I know who my neighbors are who own them.
Yep.
So if I need to, you go knock on the door.
Sure.
Right. And they're more of a shield than they are a spear. But, I think it's interesting. My thought is, growing up where you grew up, Art, is seeing the destruction and whatever you saw. Interesting, when you come here, it's one of your rights, and you chose to take that right and say, I'm going to be a firearm owner.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's part of your freedom.
Right.
And it's your choice. And the best advice I got from my concealed carry instructor, if you own concealed carry permit, Texas is different.
Yeah. Everything's different.
Carry your piece with you. Because if something going to happen, the incident going to rise up and you don't carry it and you end up dead.
Right.
You're not going to regret it, but you're going to regret it before you get shot.
Yeah.
I just think about a grocery store. I mean, I carry every minute that I possibly can, and all I can think about is if that one situation that happens. And what I was talking about is exactly right. That one situation where God, I wish I had this, and maybe I can stop this from happening. Oh, they got a gun pointed at a little kid, and no one's pulling a concealed carry. The whole point around Second Amendment and just being open carry, it doesn't happen anymore, right? Because you have so many other people. If you go rob a bank in Texas, you're pretty stupid. You rob a bank anywhere, but if you go rob a bank in Texas, I'm pretty sure there's about 9 people that probably are carrying, plus the bank tellers are probably carrying as well.
Yeah.
And in your situation, although unfortunate, that could have ended very poorly for you.
Sure could.
And you have to make a decision as a concealed carry owner: is this the right time to take someone's life? Because it's not a small decision. And any firearm owner, any responsible firearm owner, we don't intend to kill people at all. We pretend to protect our family and have fun with our firearms, with our God-given freedom to fire guns when we want to. And that's the freedom of choice, right? It comes down to what we just talked about. You choose not to have a gun. You got a gun pointed at you. That's great. That's your choice. We can't take that choice away because it's a constitutional right. It was embedded in America from beginning. That's why people like Art got out of the countries and legally got out of the countries that he got into, followed the step-by-step process to make sure that he can do what's right for his family, his kids and his wife, business, start his own business, all that.
So you're married?
Yeah.
All right. And does she own a gun, or what's her take on it?
I mean, she's okay with that.
Is she, did she come to America with you, or was she American? What?
No, we met here.
Okay. So, and she didn't own a gun. Does her family? What's the other side of your family?
I mean, she's also from Ukraine, so
Okay.
they were in the same situation.
So you're both from the Ukraine, but you met here?
Yes.
What is that? Some dating app? Ukrainians in America?
Yeah, Ukrainian army.
FarmersOnly.com.
WeGotOut.com. That's awesome.
Jessica.
Yes,
says
he's married.
he's
Jessica says yes, he's married. Super inside joke. Jessica's our CSR dispatcher.
Yeah, imagine you in a store and there is
hilarious.
a active shooter situation.
That's true.
Yeah.
And you don't have a gun and you feel so helpless. Like, even if you're not in immediate danger, but 20 people are, and you cannot help them, how long does it take for the police to show up? How many people gonna get killed?
5.5 minutes.
Yep.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Every time. It's a lot of time. It's peace of mind. We obviously have the show and I talk about guns every single day, and I am passionate about it. But it's not like I think about it all the time. I mean, I do just because it's for the show and it's looking up different facts and stuff like that. But I don't think about like, oh, I got my gun on me. I'm badass, or whatever.
You're not Rambo.
No, and I don't think most gun owners are. I mean, there might be some particular ones out that are Rambo and not, safe and all that kind of stuff. But again, it just comes down to personal choice. There's also unsafe drivers out there. There's people who drive drunk all the time. There's people who drive coked up and wasted on drugs. That get in car accidents. I think it just happened in McHenry recently, or Crystal Lake. That somebody high and drunk front ended a bus. So. And got injured a couple. I think they injured a couple kids on bus. I have to look that up, but the story just came through today. But the car was literally crashed on there and it DUI and was on drugs. Well, wait a second, like that you could have killed kids. There's no firearms conversation. This is a bad driver, bad decision.
Probably a concealed carry guy.
Oh yeah, for sure. It sounds like a concealed carry guy. And concealed carry owners, when you go through the class, you spend so much time talking about the laws and legalities, so that you protect yourself. So we're educated around what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing it. And Art's right. I mean, I don't openly walk around and say, hey, I'm a gun guy. I have tons of guns. I like to shoot. I have a gun show, all that kind of stuff. I usually wait till somebody else talks about, their weekends and what they're doing. Oh, I'm going shooting, or I go hunting. Then you can kind of get into the gun conversation and work yourself from there as well. What's the biggest freedom that you enjoy coming from Ukraine versus to here, I guess, is one of the things. I know it's a weird question.
Versus Ukraine?
Yeah. Like,
I
what
mean-
made your decision to come to America versus, like, say, Germany or say somewhere else in the world? What made America special to you?
So when I came here, I did not know that I'm gonna stay here
Okay.
because I came here as exchange student,
Uh-huh.
and it was supposed to be 3 months only.
Oh, okay.
And
You met Elena.
uh,
I'm just kidding.
that too, it was during those 3 months. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Cool. Perfect. That app worked really well.
That's right.
So the biggest difference, we like to probably 8 months ago, we had laws here that worked.
hmm
In Ukraine, there is laws, but none of them worked. Everything corrupted. You
Mhm.
can buy anything. You can buy anybody.
Oh, okay.
You can kill a person if you have enough money. You're not gonna go to
Jeez.
prison.
Yeah. And so I looked up some statistics trying to find some stuff about Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's so bad. Like, it's so bad that the numbers just aren't, none of them match up. There's no facts on it. Like, it's just straight. A lot of people died. And we don't know how they died, but they just died. It literally, I mean, I spent some serious time looking through some different things, trying to look for it. And I'm just like, the numbers do not match up. The schematics don't match up. And that just screams to me that very, very corrupt part of it as well. So Shayna has a big one on there too. Let's see what she's got.
There we go.
Yeah. My husband's crew had to deal. Shayna's husband has a crew, which is awesome.
Must be rappers.
I don't know, but I have so many questions right now.
The
I
Two
have-
Live Crew.
What's that?
Two Live Crew. is what
Two
it is.
two live crew?
Yeah, it's old 80s rap.
Oh
music.
no, I missed it. No, I was born in the '80s, so I don't.
Sorry.
I don't listen to the '80s rap. Kent's a little bit older than me.
Uh,
Crew had to deal with an unhinged, irrational man with a deep hatred for backhoes.
yes, backhoes.
Oh, I'm assuming she's some kind of construction then.
Mhm.
I was trying to figure. This is getting dark real quick.
It is.
They were able to keep him managed until the police came. Scary. I was curious if you cover anything around mental illness, etc. Mental illness is no joke. I think in terms of my take on mental illness and gun ownership, there's a certain age that you're an adult, right? And you have to be responsible as an adult. And if you have some kind of mental illness, you need to seek help. If you feel that you wake up in the middle of the night and you have this urge to kill yourself or kill somebody else, you're probably not a good gun owner. I probably wouldn't do that. In terms of the law against the fact of you owning that firearm, again, it comes back to Pete's conversation with me when I first started the show and changed my mind around the fact that, I really shouldn't be doing a FOID card. I really shouldn't be caring about doing concealed carry. I really should just have the right to be able to bear arms. And there's just no questions, ifs, ands, or buts about that. I follow the law to make sure that obviously I carry, legally. But in terms of mental illness, I think that if that person has a mental illness, they should not own a firearm that's going to harm others. Now, there's other mental illnesses that are defined as mental illness that is not provoking danger to others. Then, if it's a safe, responsible person, then that's it.
Shana wants to know, is there anything mentioned in their training, in your concealed carry training or any of the training that you guys done about people with mental disorders owning firearms?
So Tom touched on this a couple episodes ago on Target, and Tom, they watch out for those people that are irresponsible with concealed carry, and they'll actually fail them out of the class so that they'll have a private conversation with that individual afterwards. So yes, there is training. If you're a new gun owner, you go get training. As simple as that. Even if it's at a local gun range, doesn't have to be up here. It can be anywhere. Any training is better than no training. The last thing I want, we had a guest on, or we had a guest that I talked about that it had a firearm discharge next to a child's head. It was like 5 inches from it because they left the gun out. They thought they disarmed it and it wasn't disarmed. And it discharged and went through about 6 different walls before it lodged itself in the kitchen tile. That scares the hell out of me, plain and simple. gun safety, gun ownership is not something you take lightly.
I think her question is more about how would you deal with the person with the gun with mental illness, with who's having episode or pointing gun at you, and you can see his.
So my first reaction to any violence is never to grab my firearm. It never is. It's to de-escalate the situation. It's to calm that person down. So I want to say, if this person's erratic and irrational and waving a gun around and blowing, rounds off in the sky or into the floor or something, I think that would be an easy decision for me because it would be a life or death situation. But if somebody who is mental illness and holding a gun to their head or holding a gun to somebody else, my first choice would not be to pull my firearm out and point it at them. I think that would provoke the situation. My first choice would be to talk to them, have a conversation.
If he's pointing a gun at you.
Yeah. I mean, if his finger's not on the trigger and he hasn't discharged anything and he's irritated, so kind of like Kent's situation where he clearly can see that this guy really is in desperation made this guy come into his bank and point a gun at you. He's just as scared as you. Mm-hmm. I willfully think that happened in goodwill, that he was in a desperate place, that's all he had left. Did they ever catch that guy? Do you know who it is? Do you know?
No, never caught him.
Never caught the guy?
Yeah, so they think they did, but they didn't have any of our bait money or anything. So
okay.
It's hard saying.
Yeah.
And I think,
thanks, Art.
A deep hatred for backhoes. Well, I would kind of walk away from the backhoe at that point.
Yeah, just de-escalate the situation.
And that's where, that's the police's and trained people. Let's talk them down, right? Mm-hmm. Let's see if we can talk them down. We don't want to, hey, easy. Yep. The interesting thing is there's always a trigger with people with mental illness.
Sure.
And if you can figure out that trigger, you know how to avoid it.
Manipulate it.
So, at that point, all right, let's get the guy out of the backhoe. While the carpenters have their nailers pointed at the guy, like, easy does it, right? So, there's you gotta understand what the trigger is. If the guy's going crazy on the backhoe, well, let's back away from the backhoe. Let's try to calm him down.
Yep.
And take it from there.
Really comes to, what does that person want? What is your intention here? Is your intention to kill people, or is your intention to get money? Is your intention to steal my car? Is your intention to steal my iPad? Right. Like what is your restitution here? What are you trying to get? I think I would ask that because I've dealt with irate customers that are screaming and all that kind of stuff as well. And it's funny because irate customers, the first thing I do is first thing I say is I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever is going on or whatever is happening that it made you upset or has turned into this situation. What can I do to help right now? And then I de-escalate it from, what do you want? And let's come up to a positive resolution here. And it's just an irate customer in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. The second part of that is, if someone's not listening and not irate, it's a decision you have to make. You have to live with that decision.
Whose life is in danger right now.
Yep.
And the last thing you need is a shootout at the OK Corral there on the job site.
Forget
right.
That,
so all of a sudden, Art's sitting there with a gun pointed at me because I'm sitting in there.
Yep.
Two other guys draw their concealed carry.
Yep.
Well, now there's a threat.
Well, we don't know who is safe and who's not.
Correct.
And if you pull up on a street and I see four guys, I'm going to stop and go, I don't know what the F's about to happen right now, but I'm ready to go. And I don't know who I'm shooting, but whoever shoots first, I'm going to start wondering if that's the aggressor or the person that's trying to protect themselves.
At the classes, from the classes that if police arrives, you just
you put your hands up,
weapon down, put your hands up, and the guy who doesn't want to do it,
that's the aggressor.
Yes,
and that's correct on there as well. Ben was kidding, by the way, about the AR conversation, so it was just
he
was a sarcastic comment. I got to throw that in there because Ben's our guy. He's a great dude. How familiar would you suggest you get with your carry before you actually going out with it? I remember still to this day carrying my first day, and it was funny because it was so uncomfortable. Like I don't if this thing's rubbing around on me, this thing's moving, is anybody seeing it? Like I'm not paranoid, but just conscious of it. Like, oh my God, okay, well, is it sticking out of my shirt? Am I going to get arrested? Am I walking into a building that I don't see a gun X on it that I'm not supposed to be in? I'm going to be arrested over it. Like, you get this butterflies in your stomach, right? So to answer your question directly, but I think it depends on the individual itself, because at the end of the day, it's how comfortable you are with it. So after that first experience, I came home and I literally just carried my gun on me at my house the whole time. I didn't take it off. I left it in my shorts. I had it attached, whatever. And I just carried it more often around my normal home where I knew I felt comfortable with it, which made it a lot better. So I would say probably, after getting my concealed carry class and then finally getting the license and, the actual license in the mail, the first day I got the license, I was like, oh my God, I can finally carry. So I would say from that point on, I was confident that I was carrying appropriately. Just, it was a little getting used to, because I'm not gonna lie, my holster makes me poop every now and then. So it just sits funny, and that's it.
What's not?
Maybe you should hide your carry someplace else.
No, because it's in a comfortable place.
Conceal it someplace.
It's my
else.
natural laxative.
Right. What about you, Art?
I think you should practice more at the range for sure. Get yourself those practice bullets for your gun. Practice loading, unloading. Get to know your gun. Take it apart, clean it, oil it a couple times. Get to know your weapon. That's what
can I ask what yours is?
The
your
gun
concealed carry. Yeah.
1911.
Oh yeah.
5-inch barrel, 45.
I was using one of those this weekend. I did. Had a nice 1911.
It's a pretty big piece.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, I forgot about that. That was awesome. Cat comes out of the garage, he's got a 1911
airsoft
pellet plastic BB gun. We're like, oh, this is terrible.
I'm shooting it, and then all of a sudden the BBs just roll out the.
He pulls the trigger and it just dribbles. It didn't even. It didn't, like, it was literally one at a time. It just dribbled out the front of it. It's really funny, dude. It was
great.
Really good.
So I with concealed carry, again, I'm not a gun owner. I think you just got to do it. You got to carry it. It's going to be awkward. But you need to understand your firearm, right? But the whole thing is, carrying it's the easy part from what I would think. Unholstering that baby and in a time of need is the difficult part. So that you can carry it around, be comfortable all you want. Again, it makes you feel good. Mm-hmm. Again, nobody else really knows it, unless you lift up your shirt and show them like a gangster, like, hey, right?
Which is illegal.
Yes, you cannot do that.
But truthfully, the training is you gotta practice whipping that baby out of the holster or whatever you're carrying it in. I would hope that you do have it in some sort of holster or something, but that to me would be the difficult part.
Yeah, so that's why they offer training classes called, which you want to look up. So for the new gun owners out there that are doing concealed carry, it's called holster training class, and all they do is teach you how to draw from your holster. Mm-hmm. But Art had a great point with the practice bullets, because that's what made me comfortable. I am super comfortable and super efficient, and you start to wear. It sounds stupid, but if you're a real gun enthusiast and you carry every time, you carry every day, you start wearing different clothing. Then you start thinking about that process, because you think about the process.
You guys aren't in skinny jeans.
You ever seen a 6'7", 300-pound dude in skinny jeans?
Let's do it for the next show.
Oh my God. Right. I just want to see him take it off.
I don't think Elena. That's a gun. Go ahead.
Yeah. What are you carrying in your 5-inch barrel? So bad. It's not loaded yet.
That's right.
It's unloaded.
That's right.
So I lost my train of thought on that one. I just got a visual of Art.
You were talking about training, holster training.
Yeah, I just got a visual of Art taking off skinny jeans right now. It's living in my head right now.
As long as he wears white high tops.
Stop dreaming.
Wear white high tops with it.
Exactly. So if you do holster training, the other side and what Art was talking about earlier is being able to use those practice bullets. They have snap caps or they have string loaded caps that I use all the time too. And what you want to do, there's a couple things. So there's the holster draw itself. So being able to lift your shirt up or whatever, wherever it is, to be able to pull out right away. The thing I talked about with you at the range is I'm so familiar with my sidearm that I know exactly when I pull that trigger, when I'm going to hit, when I'm actually going to fire, right? So I'm already unsafetied it. It's already, cocked and it's ready to go. But when I pull out of my holster, I pull forward, I'm literally already at the point where that trigger is ready to pull. So I've already put tension on that trigger because I know exactly where that's going to unload. You know what I mean? When I push that trigger, I'm actually going to see it kind of take off. And it's funny because we were at the range, he could see the comfort that I am with it because I just pulled out and put 5 in the center. 2 seconds, and it was no problem at all. But I've put thousands of rounds down range with that thing. And 1911s is my next gun, and Art and I have had many conversations about this. But 1911s are so ergonomically perfectly designed. They feel so good in your hand, and they shoot so freaking straight. It's ridiculous. Now, the problem is Art's 6'7", so he can hide a 5-inch barrel pretty easily. I'm 6'3".
You should too.
I can, but the problem is that the level of comfort goes down because it's heavier. It's full metal. There's no plastic on it or polyurethane or anything.
And it's heavy.
It is heavy. So it's a full metal gun. Everything, the handle's metal. It's wood. It's real wood. Like his is really nice. His 5-inch barrel is really nice. He's tried all of it.
There's no wood. It's metal.
It's wood.
Yeah.
But it becomes uncomfortable. So a 1911 is typically not carried by a normal person. Yeah, you're abnormal. Normally large.
Yeah. And you've got kids.
Yep.
How old are your kids, can I ask?
3 and 8.
3 and 8. And you're not worried about them
It's not accessible for
that
them.
or
The gun's not accessible for kids. They only safe.
but they know you have one.
They do know. Yes.
But they know not to go over there.
And we talk about guns all the time. We talk about gun safety. I mean, with my 8-year-old.
Right.
The 3-year-old is not
3-year-old
ready
doesn't
for
know
that
yet.
yet.
Like, hey, puppy.
He understands.
Yeah.
His son's really cute. He's like the mini
I mean, I took him
orange.
to the range. He has his permit for the range.
Oh, nice. Okay. So he understands. You've taught him some gun safety.
Mm-hmm.
He knows it's not a toy.
Yeah, he knows that it kills people.
Yeah. And now here's a question I'll throw to both of you. And Art, you can answer this first. Is today's society, we can read at any time in Chicago, 60 people shot, 11 killed. That's a typical weekend from quote unquote gun violence. I hate that word, but that's what I'll use. The question that I have is, what are your thoughts with these video games, these violent video games, right? Black Ops, things like that. So I'm just going around with my headset on, killing people, and then I get extra lives or whatever, and I can go back and do it. Does that numb down, in your thought, the respect for firearms?
I think it does. And I mean, my son, he doesn't play those games yet. I know he will get to that point. But we even talk about the games.
Okay.
Like about the shooting games. Because I know he's going to like play them at some point. Yeah. And I always tell him, you only have one life. You're not going to recover and have another life.
Yeah.
So,
but you think that may have some effect on why there's so much gun violence?
I don't think so. No. I used to play those games when I was a kid, and it didn't happen to me. I mean, maybe it's just one case, but
yeah.
I don't think it's the games. I think it's a culture, illegal guns in Chicago. I believe most of those shootings are from illegal guns.
Most of them have. I mean, there's been a lot of them that have been. Yeah.
Yeah, it's simple for me. I mean, when it comes down to, I mean, I grew up playing guns too. I think it comes down to the culture of the parents that are raising the child. I think it comes down to this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. I think if you were to do a study and put a child with no parents or really crappy parents that don't teach and train and coach and care about the well-being of raising a child, right? That child, if he were to play violent video games, listen to violent music, listen to hang out with violent people, be able to watch violent movies, and have all this violence in their life that's being influenced onto them, you're probably going to have a violent kid, right? And it really hurts me inside because I feel like those are the people that we should be focusing on with all this gun talk and gun conversation. Like, that kid likes guns because he likes the games. Why not teach him how to use guns safely? Because now it's not a video game. Now he can go to the range and actually shoot and feel good about it and not have any violent thoughts about it when it comes down to it. I grew up playing the same video games, dude. Grand Theft Auto, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you shot hookers on the side of the street, you stole cars, you sold drugs, and you took money. Like, I don't do any of that stuff. Like
Anymore.
Oh yeah,
No.
weekend.
I think there should be an age restriction for those games, though.
Do you really think so, though? Art has kids. I don't.
Right.
Me and my wife don't have kids. So that it's funny you mention that because that is a good conversation. Why? Explain to me why. Do you think kids at a younger... I don't have kids. Obviously, I just grew up being a kid. So
No, I think it should be like 12 years old, maybe
Yeah.
13 years old when they can start doing that.
Mhm.
But before that, it's just going to take so much of you to try to explain them why, like even why they're killing people in the games.
Yeah. Like, who is a hooker? Like, what is a hooker, I guess.
Not that, but I don't think they would
comprehend it.
comprehend it
So,
properly. Yes.
So growing up back in the 70s and 80s, we watched the Looney Tunes, and I watched, anvils get dropped on people's heads.
Sure. Yep.
The Wile E. Coyote run into the side of a rock or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yosemite Sam blasting off his guns, pop, 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 right?
Mhm.
Shooting Bugs Bunny or whatever, Elmer Fudd, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And, but I still never thought, well, it's good. I should point that at a person, right? Now,
Yep.
I will say that in my teens, we didn't have the black ops and things like that, but me and my buddies in the neighborhood would have BB gun wars.
Yep. For
Yeah,
sure.
we did the same.
We did the same thing, too.
It's all about the society, like close society where you live, like
Mhm.
neighborhood,
Yeah.
and your parents. That's it.
Yeah.
So I feel sad for the areas that are being gun ridden and everything else, but I also blame our administration that's in that area
Mhm.
that's not doing something to fix it,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So they're just blaming guns
For the last 60 years.
Yeah, they're just
Okay.
blaming guns. So what's the agenda behind it?
Mhm.
So is the agenda that we want to make guns bad, so we're just going to let it continue to happen because we have a fight to fight? Or is it just you just don't have the resources for it as well? And we had this conversation a couple weeks ago around like schooling. If you put a rich school, I mean rich school, so somebody who has proper funding and
Yeah.
extracurricular and high paid teachers and extracurricular activities, and you shove that in South Side of Chicago or somewhere that's really gang ridden and gun ridden, is that going to fix the problem? No.
Yeah.
They're not going to take into that, and they're going to eat it up in a wrong way, because they're just not used to it.
So, what about gun education in school? So we've got driver's education.
Sure.
We've got sex education
Yep.
At a very young age now in public schools. What's your take on gun education in school? Would you allow that? Would you not allow that?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I second that.
Yep.
I get it. Second.
Right.
That was bad.
However, now you've got firearms in the schools.
So,
Okay, you're not gonna bring real or loaded firearm. in
but
there.
why not?
Yeah, but why not? Because there are some
just lit up. It's
now
awesome.
there are some schools in Iowa who have skeet shooting teams.
Absolutely.
Right, so it's a sport.
So say you have a 16-year-old kid who's legally, by the way, allowed to hunt deer,
Yeah.
right, with a firearm. What's any difference from somebody who's a CCW instructor and a safe
Yeah, are we talking about
environment?
high school?
Yeah, high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
What we were saying school, but let's
So you're
What's-
saying high school is a good age to teach guns?
Yes.
So I think gun education and getting people amped up and excited about it so they can have that conversation should happen at like ninth grade. where you're getting introduced to, hey, you have the choice if you want to take, gun training safety courses. We offer them at age 16. Here's the requirements that your parents have to do. Here's the sign off that your parents need to do. Here's the instructor. Here's his background. Here's what his intentions are. Here's what the training program was, so that there's transparency, right? So we don't want any hidden agendas here. We want super transparent. You hit 16. Why the heck not? That sounds awesome. It's just like shop class. Shop class is pretty much gone in high schools. Like, we're not going to have wood builders out there. We're not going to have welders. We're not going to have auto mechanics or HVAC techs like we're running into right now, or electricians. It's so hard to even have a conversation because our youth just has no trades. They're just forced to go to college and spend a whole bunch of money on college and hopefully get a good job out of that. Well, that's not happening anymore, right? The good jobs are not there like that. There's different ways to do that. Plus, the trades are awesome. Guns, there's a whole realm of world that you can be in guns and start from a young age and not have to be malicious about it, right? And the problem is, the sad thing is there's going to be one malfunction, one accident that happens that will shut that whole thing completely down, which sucks.
So do you think if there was gun education in high school,
yep,
you think that we wouldn't see these mass shootings or school shootings?
But are we really seeing mass shootings like that? It's not like it's happening every single month, year. Like, I mean, yes, again, mass shootings. What definition of mass shootings are you talking about?
Whose fault are those mass shootings? If it's a student from high school, that's parents who didn't like their guns.
But what if it's a mass shooting from college? Whose fault's that? Adult or the growing
Whose
up?
gun was it?
Doesn't matter. Does it really matter?
It does.
Why? So what? Okay, so he found a gun on the street.
Okay,
Whose
then
fault?
he's responsible.
So what if it's his gun that he had growing up that his parents just didn't teach him education?
That's his fault.
I still think it's parents 100%. I think it's the upbringing 100% of where things are. And this is art in me, by the way.
That's right. Well,
which is great.
Well, but in July, August 2021, there's already been 470 mass shootings in America.
So 4 people or more.
470.
Okay.
So divide that up by however many weeks we're in, 8 months.
Yep.
That's a lot.
By 50 states.
So it is happening quite a bit.
But you have to define what mass shootings is. I'd have to look at what that constitutes as, because that whatever research you're looking at with that, I have to dig further into it, because every time I do this, the media loves to play mass shootings as a certain way versus the other way around.
Yep.
How many car accidents were this year?
7.
7.
How many car accidents are today?
All right, so why do you bring that up?
Car accidents?
Yes.
Because we come up with car accidents, we come up with a whole topic of conversation around the fact that if guns are so dangerous, cars are dangerous too. More people die in cars than they die in gun violence.
But there are more licensed drivers and more cars than there are firearms that we know.
Do we know that?
That we know.
Okay.
Right.
So, yes.
And there's people who come from different countries who aren't carrying firearms that can also drive a rental car. So it's not a real good apples for apples.
It is, because there's more of it happening and there's more accidents. So if you want to take the numbers part of it and look at the percentages part of it.
Right.
So the percentage of accidents for cars versus percentage of accidents for guns is lower. Guns are lower than cars.
Per capita, we'd have to see. That'd be a good thing to check
I'll
out.
have it ready to go for next week.
I think it would be great.
Yep.
Because that to me is always, cars kill. Cancer does too.
So true.
So why don't we talk about cancer and firearms?
100%.
Right.
I don't disagree with that comment.
So, but that's what I'm saying is at some point there's got to be a different for you gunners. There's got to be a different argument that makes more sense than cars kill people. Oh, there you go. You know, that's great, but you don't hear of mass car collision. You know what I mean? You hear somebody died, rolled over. Guy hit a bus. He was drunk, right? So it's.
But that happens by like the minute.
Well, 470 in 8 months is pretty pretty good too.
Yeah, I have to see the mass shootings numbers
Right.
around it. Is these people dead? Are these people in what areas? Again, it comes down to are we focusing if there's been 60 killings in Chicago alone or 60 shootings? That's not even. I wouldn't even consider that on the map because we're not focusing on that. We're not helping that area at all. We're just letting it happen. I guarantee you, those 60 shootings, there's probably 5 arrests, and those 5 arrests are probably not even 100% sure. So you have all these factors that come into play with it too.
Nobody gets surprised by shootings in Chicago anymore.
No.
I would be surprised if there was a weekend with no shootings.
But you know how sad it is? That's really sad. There was a time and point when I was driving down Chicago, like driving 90, and they had the highway shootings, right? And they kept talking about the sniper that was on the highway or the shootings that were happening on the highway. That makes you think, like, okay, well, is this the last time I'm driving down 90? Because at the end of the day, I don't, like, this dude's just going to take my life and he's just going to shoot. I mean, we can talk about different avenues of how things are. Cars aren't in our Constitution. The right to drive.
They weren't invented back then.
I know, but it's not there. It's not there, right? So
right.
I hate this term because I disagree with this as well. Driving is a privilege, not a right. I had that told to me by a cop once. I almost lost my shit on it. Because it was just so demeaning to me. Like, I'm giving you the right. These are my roads. No, I actually pay taxes. Now I'm older. I would have a different conversation with that cop back in the day. So that's a right that we give you, a right that's being abused, a right that's monitored very lightly. I think a driver's license is too easy to get. It's a lot more dangerous than a firearm with the amount of bullets. You have 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 pounds that are involved in that. Plus, you control that 100% by your actions. Firearms is different.
Don't you think the education, like starting from middle or high school,
100%.
would help that?
100%. 100%.
Education's
key.
Even education about what's the consequences if you kill somebody and you're not justified.
Yeah.
Like
for concealed carry.
Good.
Yep.
As soon as you pull the trigger, aiming at somebody, you should know how much your life gonna change.
Yeah.
With one shot.
Yeah. So the research I'm going to do next week's show is going to be Texas, Arizona, Illinois, and New York.
Yeah.
So the 4 states. I don't want to focus on California because I don't want to talk about California. Texas is open carry, conceal or Second Amendment carry. Florida is the same way. Chicago and New York. New York's extreme, and we've already talked about that. But Chicago is kind of this new age information on there as well. So. At the end of the day, I think that's going to be what we're going to dive into to get some more facts around that and to be able to see what mass shootings are in there as well. So, and I've heard that conversation before, Kent, too. You know, cars and all that kind of stuff. It's the only one that makes relevant sense because it's still, you have to obtain a license, you have to require to have training for it. And is the mass shootings illegal guns or legal guns? I don't know.
Gun's a gun. Car is a car. Well, hey, did I steal the car and kill somebody? Hey, you know.
That's true.
Same thing, right?
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't disagree with that.
Right. So when I look at it and I again, not poo-pooing it, I'm just trying to bring up a different view is that hey, the Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia. Define that. Number one.
Sure.
Okay. Being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Mm-hmm.
What's infringed? And what's a free state?
We should all be free states. Define freedom. Okay. So freedom should be right there in front of you, which is the Constitution itself. Infringed means there's no questions involved that you are allowed to own a firearm. There's no infringements on it. There's no
which we've got that because if
we don't technically
if you're deemed mentally disabled, you can't purchase a firearm.
Yeah, but is that in there? Is that in the Constitution that says that if you're deemed mentally unstable?
No,
that's you mentally unstable.
That's what's there.
There's a lot of gun
laws, right?
Huh?
So there's gun laws. If there was no gun laws, so that's infringing on your right there.
I agree 100%. Right. So that's what they've been fighting for all this time because they keep slowly adding in these laws and keep adding in and people accept it. And people like myself and like Art walk in and say, you know what? It's okay. I'll get a FOID card because it's doing the right thing because it's legal. We're not questioning the fact that, hey, why do I have to get a FOID card? This shouldn't happen. Why does Texas doesn't have a FOID card? Arizona doesn't have a FOID card. And then we say, okay, well, we'll let the FOID card happen, but we want to conceal carry. Oh, well, we can conceal carry. That's fine. But you know what? We need a license, and it needs to be signed off by the state police that you're deemed mentally stable. And how the hell does Illinois know if I'm stable or not? Like, are you mentally institutionalized? Okay, does that show up on a record somewhere? Is there a database for that? So a lot of unanswered questions. And, oh, by the way, we want to pay you for it. So wait a second. All right, well, I guess we'll let that happen. So we're going to continue to let these freedoms be infringed until we turn into a country like Japan.
Or Ukraine.
Which slowly goes in there as well.
Oh, it's already there.
So Benjamin Franklin, and we're about done here, but Benjamin Franklin says only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. And America, how corrupt and vicious are we?
And that's when you need militias.
That's where your Second Amendment comes into play.
Right? So that's, you got to take a look at freedoms.
Food for thought.
It is.
That's great.
Well, let's jump into it next week, Art. Thanks for being here, buddy. Appreciate you.
For having
Come
me.
back anytime.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you. Well, that's loud.
Jumped all over the place, too. Okay.
There it is. All right. For all of us here, 21.6 thanks for getting caught in the net. Tomorrow, big day. Starting right off with Mary Catherine's Power Hour, followed up by The Grounds, followed up by Bridging Civil Tension, followed up by the Success Journey Podcast, followed up by Dream Home Experts at noon, followed up by The Neighborhood Pulse, followed up by In the Know with Steph and Joe, and then wrap up the evening at 8 o'clock with live Dream Home Experts. It'll just be the Dream Home Experts. Oh, exciting. Thanks, folks. Be safe, be good, and remember, carry your firearm.